Kristin Tate is a contributor to the political website The Hill. She's author of the book, Government Gone Wild. So what are the big changes private citizen Trump is going to have to make when he takes over the White House?
Well, look, I think Trump is going to be a very action and results-oriented president. At the Trump organization, he employed over 20,000 people, so I think executive experience is really not going to be a problem for him. Problem for him is going to be dealing with bureaucracy, but he can find ways to circumvent bureaucracy to get things done. And as you mentioned, I think one thing he's going to do is surround himself with people he knows and trusts, people with experience that he can turn to for advice. He doesn't really need to learn and retain everything. Trump can focus on big picture issues and kind of delegate smaller tasks to people on his staff, but I would expect him to hold that staff accountable for positive results, just like he does in the private sector.
But it is said that in running his business, he gets involved in micromanaging, choosing the light fixtures, that kind of thing. You can't do that.
He is a perfectionist. He is a perfectionist, but I think he really trusts his inner circle. Trump is a loyal person, and the people who stuck with him in his darkest days, people like, Rudy Giuliani, Chris Christie, these people have experience, and he trusts them. So I think he'll be able to focus on the bigger picture.
But the White House staff alone is something like 4,000 people, I want to say, and just, you can't have an inner circle that's that big.
Look, he's going to have to make adjustments. He realizes that, I think. And the bottom line is that Trump is a hard worker. Look at what he did in this campaign. He never slept. The guy was campaigning, going to several states per day. He was up all morning until the night campaigning. Hillary Clinton was napping while the press ignored her. So I think Trump is a workaholic, and he's ready to get things done and work with other folks.
Speaking of that, the Wall Street Journal is just out with a story that suggests that Mr. Trump is considering keeping parts of the Affordable Care Act. Now, throughout his campaign, he said we're going to dismantle Obamacare. But apparently a couple of aspects of it, the one that doesn't allow insurers to cancel you if you've got pre-existing condition, and it also allows adult children to stay on their parents' health care plans until they reach the age of 26. Those two things he's talking about keeping. Does that surprise you?
Look, I think the bottom line is that he is going to push towards a more privatized system. Obamacare as a whole does not work. He may keep bits and pieces of it, but as a whole, we will see a more privatized system. I'm very confident in that. I think Trump realizes the folks that got him to the White House, he knows what they want, and he will not let them down. I also think he's going to follow through on his promises to secure that border. I think we're going to see him on day one looking at Obama's executive orders and deciding which ones to immediately repeal. This is going to be a man of action. So yes, he may keep bits and pieces of Obamacare, but the fundamentals, it's going to be privatized.
And those two aspects of Obamacare, I remember Republicans have said all along you didn't need to blow up the entire health care system of the country to get 25-year-olds able to stay on their parents' health care plan. You didn't need to blow up the health care system to tell insurance companies that they can't cancel people with pre-existing conditions.
Right, yeah. I mean, there are certain aspects of it that are certainly it sounds like going to be kept, but again, it all comes down to we need competition in the market for our healthcare system. That's how we're going to make quality go up. We cannot have this socialized healthcare single-payer system that someone like Hillary Clinton probably would have put in place.
He has also said a freeze on government hiring. Tell us what that could do for the size of the federal government.
Well, I would like to see President Trump shrink the size of the federal government, and I'm sure a lot of his supporters would as well. I want to see him bring in people without government experience. Chris Christie has said they're going to do that. Now we have Mike Pence obviously in charge of picking people in the cabinet. So this is all about getting back to conservative roots, limiting the size of government, getting fewer people on the government payroll, and bringing in folks who have real-world experience, not just bureaucrats.
All right, but he doesn't have government experience. Does that bother you in any way?
That's one of his biggest assets, and that is why we saw Trump win. The American people know that what's going on in D.C. right now is not working. Hillary Clinton was the epitome of a government bureaucrat, and the American people have spoken. They said, no, we want real experience, we want doers, we want someone who's going to take action. So when you bring in some fresh blood, some people who haven't been in government offices for their lives, I think that's going to be something the nation really needs.
All right, Kristin Tate, thanks very much.
Thank you.